Commitment, the earlier you make that in life, the faster you get there. So I told him, if you commit, you don't leave that to an age demographic or a group that's older than you. Once you make that commitment, as young as you are, you're gonna get there sooner. I remember picking up Ed Milet one time, and I was 20 years old. Matter of fact, I had just hit SMD. I had just turned 21. And then Ed Milet is in my car, and I'm nervous driving with Ed in my car in traffic. And I'm like, I'm supposed to talk to this guy because he's like the big shot in our company, but I'm so nervous. I'm trying not to get into a car accident, right, with Ed Milet in my car. And so then I go, hey, Ed. And he goes, yes. I said, I got a question for you. Natural for me to be this nervous? And he's like, don't be nervous. I'm just a normal guy. I said, okay, but I'm still nervous even though you said that. And then I said, I'm 21. He goes, I can see. I said, okay. I'm like, man, Ed's tough to talk to. I said, you know what I mean? Because he said, I can see that you're young. And I said, okay. Oh, okay. He said, look, can I tell you something? I said, yeah, please. Because I'm like, enlighten me here because I'm about to roll the windows down and I don't know if he's cold or hot and I don't want him to be upset at me. I said, yes, please. And he goes, you're young. He says, I've never seen anybody that stays for 10 years at your age, like demographic, right? You're 10, you're 20. By the time you're 30, 31, that hasn't made millions in our business or does not become a millionaire through our platform. I have not yet met one. He goes, so just don't be the only one that gets there without having made millions. I said, okay. So then, I don't know if you guys have heard Ed Milet speak about the 10-year room. He's talked about that 10-year room. He says that once you get into a 10-year room, it's a very small group of people that ultimately will make it, right? He talks about that so passionate. And so I started in 2007. By the time I was 21, I was an SMD. My first encounter with Ed Milet was over the phone when I hit SMD. He said, hey, welcome, you're part of the team now. And I hope if you're not an SMD on this call, you understand what I'm about to say next. In your infancy stages, as you're building a company, you should not be dabbling around with 2 or 3 or 4 different things you're doing every day. It should be that one, and you honing your skills, and you make that one a success. How do you transfer that to other people? Because these standards that you set, I set high standards for everything that we do. Now, you got to set high standards for your people, and you're the only one that knows your people, who they are. Number 2, you got to make a decision to go all in. I made a decision to go all in. You got to make the decision. Someone was on the call. There's somebody on this call who likes to wake up tomorrow morning to play the assistant role. You'll put the assistant hat on. Then you take off that hat and you put another hat and it says producer. Then you take that hat off and then you put the recruiting hat on. And then it says recruiter. And then you take that hat off and you put the other one on and it says licensing coach. You take that hat off and then you put it back on and then it says mentor. And now you're mentoring people. And then you take that hat off, and if you have an office, then you put the other hat on, it says landlord. It's crazy. Some of you guys are laughing like, wow, that's crazy. See, if you owned a restaurant, you couldn't do that. You can be the cook, you can be the manager, you can be the busboy, bus girl, you couldn't be the bartender, you couldn't be at all those places at once. So guess what? You got to make a decision to go all in on something and stick to it. You know what I mean? Everything else that I just talked about, you can leverage somebody else in doing. You know what I mean? You can leverage everybody else on doing that. That's for you. All having another plan does is it distracts you from the original plan. I stopped doing everything else. I have a few assistants now. I have an operational team, and my operational team does all this stuff for me. They're even here. They're here. They record. They set up the Zooms. They make sure my office is intact. They make sure the you know what I mean, everything is going right. And what I focus on is people. I focus on meeting people, talking to people, sitting in front of new trainees, or sitting in front of new people that qualify for trips or whatever, lunches, dinners, whatever it may be. So you got to figure out what your decision is that you're making today. Make a decision. You need to make a decision that you're never going to be in another pandemic where somebody else has their thumb on you or has a control over you. You need to make a decision about that too. It would be moronic for them to tell you something, to do something, and it's not rightful for you to, like, it's not righteous for you to do it. Like, it's so when Paul told me to go do something with my hair, he was trying to see whether or not I was going to be right and fit for this company, and I was okay with change. You guys follow me? And so when your coaches are trying to coach you, how coachable are you? Are you 99% coachable? Then you're not coachable 100%. Because that one little ounce of not coachability keeps you from succeeding. See, right there was my 1%. Paul said, go do something with your hair, Bianca. And the first thing I went to go do is I went back to the neighborhood where I grew up. Check this out. I went back to the neighborhood where I grew up in these streets in San Jose. And I remember in my neighborhood, there was a lady that did hair. Everybody has a lady in their neighborhood, if you grew up in the rough neighborhoods, that does hair. The lady next door does hair. Right? Everybody. And I'm sorry if I'm like, man, John was like, wow, he was from some rough places. Yes. That's why I feel blessed every day to be a part of this company. I feel blessed to be asked to speak to people because I'm like, man, if you knew how messed up I was before this, like, you wouldn't have talked to me probably. You would have avoided me. A guy like that with long hair, beard, and all that stuff, you probably would have been like, I don't know if he's up to anything good. And I wouldn't have trusted myself either. I'm just kidding. I would. But, because I know myself. But if I looked at myself, like, it's funny because now I look at, this is why I tell you, when I meet with young people, I look at them and I go, oh, God, this guy reminds me of me. Oh, Lord, he's got long hair just like me. And then I tell him, how willing are you to cut your hair? Huh? I said, well, maybe not cut it, but like do something with it nicer than that. I mean, I don't mind you having long hair but it's not about me. This business is about other people. People are going to look at you and their perception is their reality. So what they look at is what they're going to right away judge. You follow me? So when they look at a young guy like me that grew up on the streets of San Jose, like that's trying to change himself, guess what I got to do? I got to change everything drastically. You follow me, Alex? I can't change slow. It's got to be fast. People got to look at me and go, wow, this dude really wants to change his life. And so when Paul told me that, I didn't do it. I went to my neighborhood. I talked to this lady. I bought her some extensions. She weaved them into my hair, and I got cornrows. I came into the next BPM wearing that shirt you see on that screen because I had no dress-up clothes. That's a Sequoia Institute Wildtech. I went to a mechanic school to try to get a degree. Because I was like, I'm not going to school, but I'll do one of these like little vocational things to try to get my foot in the door, right? And it didn't work. They're super overly priced, and none of that stuff transfers when you go to work. Whatever. So I'm not even going to talk about that now. And so then I go to the meeting like that. What do you think Paul Hart said when I walked in? He like, his jaw dropped. Like, are you kidding me? He took me to the side and said, bro, are you serious? I said, what? I was kind of like, what happened? What's going on? Like, is something wrong? Do I got a couple hairs sticking out of my braids or what's going on? He's like, you got cornrows. I said, yeah. You like them? He goes, you got cornrows. He's like, first of all, you're Mexican and you got cornrows at the meeting. I said, man, what's wrong with that? Everybody on it, and where I grew up, everybody, once in a while gets cornrows or braids, right? He's like, whoo, this guy's gonna take some work. All it was a made up mind and a decision, and everything changed. That's